Welcome to Retail Retold, the stories behind how that store landed in your neighborhood. I'm Chris Ressa, in conversation with the people and stories shaping retail and real estate. Brought to you by DLC. Welcome to Retail Retold, everyone. Today I'm joined by Zach Paul. Zach is the head of real estate of Peachy. He's an industry veteran, being in retail real estate for 13 years. And thus far in his career, he's always been on the corporate real estate side for retailers. I'm excited for him to join us. Welcome to the show, Zach.
Thanks so much for having me today.
So, Peachy.
Yes, Peachy.
So, tell us a little bit about Peachy, but first, tell us a little bit about who Zach Paul is.
Definitely, for sure. So, like you said in the intro, I've always worked in-house on the retailer side. I've worked for retailers like Rite Aid. I've done my kind of first job in the industry was doing lease admin work for the Rite Aid. And from there, I went to Spirit Halloween, learned so much about temporary short-term leases and just churning out 250 plus temp deals a year, and you got to travel the US and really kind of see different retail markets. From there, switched to work for Sherwin-Williams, doing working for a Fortune 500 company. um, Learned really the kind of the intricacies of long-term leases and how to structure different types of deals, a lot of ground up development as well. From there, I worked at a company called GoPuff, on-demand delivery service, very much a startup kind of organization. I was one of the first real estate employees that they hired. Um, was a great kind of experience learning about how startups work and how the funding works, and just switching the strategy every week or every month when it comes to how to grow. From there, unfortunately, was laid off during the pandemic due to some changes in the business model, and that kind of brought me to Peachy. For me, Peachy, we are considered a startup, but I was really able to kind of use all these past experiences working for startup, really scrappy organizations, but also really established organizations like Sherwin-Williams and Spirit Halloween, and implement fresh processes and procedures for our strategy.
I don't know if you're aware, but Sherwin-Williams was my first job out of college.
Yes, I think you were right before me, and when you left, I think I had to pick up the pieces
Ah,
afterwards. Maybe, I don't know. I had to look. We just share the dates and
it, I was a little bit before you. Um, I started there in '04, so it was a little earlier, but they hadn't replaced me for a while, so maybe.
yeah. I mean, great organization, right? I mean,
Believable place.
it's a company that's been around for over 150 years, and for me, I was really able to learn kind of the 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 amount of effort it takes to open a store, right? I
Did
mean,
you work for Bill Seal?
yep, Bill Seal, yeah,
What
great
a
guy.
great guy.
Yeah,
Unbelievable guy.
taught me the ins and outs. And again, I'm not an attorney, but I feel just working underneath him, I was really able to kind of get the intricacies and just how much lease language really does impact the outcome.
For
Uh,
sure.
and yeah, great experience, really.
So I based on how you characterize the intro of what you do and what you've done, I want to ask a question that we didn't talk about before we got on here. So we do have some younger listeners on, and I'd like to do a PSA. So you've had both extremes, Fortune like 300 company in Sherwin-Williams and startup.
Yeah.
What are some of the types of people that you think lends itself more to a startup versus a much more mature organization like a Sherwin-Williams, and vice versa? What lends itself more to a mature organization versus, so if you're like graduating college in a month and you're like entertaining job offers from both types of organizations, what would be some advice you would give to those people?
Yeah, I mean, I see value in both, right? I think kind of the zeitgeist today is like everyone should work at a startup and make a ton of money, but I think there's also a lot of value working for an extremely established organization as well. I think in order to kind of succeed in any situation, it's really all about your mindset and how you, react, or, how you react to different situations. So I will say, working at a startup, when I started at Peachy, and we can talk a little more about, what Peachy is and who we are and what we're doing. When I started, we only had two locations. So there was really no kind of roadmap or formula or strategy whatsoever when it came to, what makes a good Peachy location, or what are we going to do in the next year or 5 years. There was really no kind of, metric in place, or process in place. So I would say, definitely being open and willing to learn and to change and deal with challenges and to think outside your comfort zone. Like, a startup really does kind of, test your limits in a way. Um, but there's also ways I find, with a large, organization, a Fortune 500, or, Fortune 100 company, where you can still be, challenged as well, and kind of learn, the process and the system, and see how you would improve it. I will tell you, candidly, that my time at Sherwin-Williams, there were a lot of things that I would have done differently when it comes to the way the real estate process and the site selection process took place. But when you're dealing with a 150-year-old company, you know, it's it's not as, quick to change in a way.
Sure. I think, I think on the mature organization, I think if you wanna really understand the evolution of a business, you can learn that there. If you wanna get access to different people and access to different departments, and if you're the type of person who's like, "Here's how things," if you need, like, a system already built, you're like an execution person. Like, you're like, someone gives you a task and you're the person who always gets it done, versus at a startup, like, those process procedures, those steps aren't built, and if that's like, throws you off, it's probably not a good place from a career
Yeah,
versus an established mature company like Sherwin-Williams.
exactly. And honestly, there's also a level of risk too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's something everyone has kind of their own personal risk tolerance. If I had, three kids and, huge mortgage, I don't know, would I really want to kind of risk it with a startup versus if I had no kind of debts or obligations, or, you know, everything was fresh to me. Maybe that startup kind of culture and risk is more appreciated. But I think it's good to kind of see the duality and see kind of the benefit of both. I mean, I always think about, my first job in lease administration at Rite Aid. I was looking at leases from, like, paper leases on microfilm as well, from the 1970s when they bought, Thrifty Drug in California, and, all these other kind of acquisitions. So, I was really kind of able to learn the basics from that as well.
Yeah. So, thanks for the intro on you. Thanks for the discussion points on startups versus established companies. Give us, a little bit about what Peachy does.
Definitely. So, for those who don't know, Peachy, we're based in New York City. We are a wrinkle prevention and wrinkle treatment studio, if you will. Um, Very straightforward. I know there's a lot of med spas and, kind of other operators that are out there. We really do like three things, and three things that prevent wrinkles and treat wrinkles. We do neuromodulator injections, which is Botox. Botox is kind of like the Xerox of the copier world.
Ah,
Oh, so Botox is kind of like the trade name. So we offer Botox, Xeomin, Juvo, and Dysport. All kind of offer the same, outcome in a way. Reducing wrinkles and fine lines. So that's kind of our bread and butter. We offer that. We also have our own sunscreen line, and also prescription retinoids as well. So for us, we're very much, a science backed organization. We're not trying to, offer our customers, hey, walk in and we're going to completely change the way you look. It's more about, maintaining the way you look, preventing wrinkles, and just really, doing what we can that is, FDA approved and, science backed.
Got it. Do you wholesale the suntan lotion? Sunscreen?
It's, private labeled, you know,
Got it. But
suns
can you
but
buy it in like a Target or Amazon or something like that?
no, we only offer it through our studios, which is a special kind of blend that, we have 2 founders, and one of our co-founders, you know, medical doctor, has that background, has that expertise when it comes to, what actually, it takes to, prevent sun damage. So
Got it.
that's kind of what we do. We always say, and I always like to tell people, we really want to demystify and destigmatize wrinkle prevention. There's a whole slew of jokes and late night comedians that love to talk about Botox and frozen face and all this kind of stuff. But I will say over the last 5 years, Botox in general has become a lot more normalized. So, a big push for us again to demystify, destigmatize is to, really kind of have a place where people can go and learn more about
So new computer, I have no idea what happened.
it. I lost you there.
It just said I've been on the whole time. It just said my camera's unplugged, which it's not.
There
There I
you are.
am.
You're back.
Wild. Anyway, um, really cool concept. You started with 2 locations. How many locations are open now?
8 locations are open.
Got it. And you have signed leases for how many more?
By the end of this year, we'll have 12 open.
So give us a little color. What type of real estate are they looking for? Are you looking for?
So typically, we're looking as small as 1,200 square feet, as large as 2,500 square feet. For us, our core customer really is that female 25 to 35. That's something else that kind of sets us apart. A lot of other med spa or Botox driven businesses kind of focus on that 40 to 45 plus female. We're trying to get our customer in early. Our customer is not going to a plastic surgeon to get Botox. For us, we're all about flat fee pricing as well. If you go to a derm or a plastic surgeon or another med spa, they charge per unit. So they're more kind of their motivation is really to fill your face with as many units as possible. A customer walks in, has no idea what they're paying, versus at Peachy, it's flat fee pricing. A customer knows what they're going to be paying no matter if they get 1 unit or 100 units. So we're really focused on that kind of millennial customer. I will say we're really focused on high quality, high quality real estate. For us, visibility is huge. Co-tenancy is probably the biggest thing for us. We really want to be by, your very cool, trendy, whether it be 10 dental or modern, um, not modern vet, but Bond Vet, Small Door Vet, those kind of brands really speak to us.
Got it. And done some different product type. You're in high street retail, obviously you're in the city in Chicago. You're going to your lifestyle centers.
Lifestyle centers, yeah, we are looking at lifestyle centers. I mean, again, our customer is really, focused on fitness as well. So being near, say, a Lululemon or Alo Yoga is huge. Being near Soul Cycle, Barry's Boot Camp, yeah, lifestyle centers work well for us.
Got it. Very cool. And a lot of I'm curious, a lot of the brands that you worked with previously, maybe not GoPuff, but definitely in spirit and with Sherwin-Williams, those are known quantities. Now, at
Yeah.
DLC, we're a large Sherwin landlord, we're a Spirit landlord, so very familiar with those. And when those people when you picked up the phone before, everyone knew who you are, what it was about, understood everything. I imagine you're picking up the phone and doing a lot of educating these days to
Yeah.
landlords, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think you have to. I mean, think about the target demo that I'm talking to most of these landlords. It's mostly male, unfortunately, and mostly 40 plus.
Right.
In some
Right.
situations, in some markets, even significantly older. So their kind of knowledge of Botox and or wrinkle prevention is extremely limited. It's limited to say, oh, my girlfriend or my wife does it, or oh, you know, uh, these celebrities do it. It's very limited.
That's where my knowledge is.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I think a big part of what I do in other careers as well, but especially here at Peachy is telling that story of who we are, what we're all about, kind of what we do to the spaces and, why we are kind of the A plus, tenant when it comes to, the amount of build out we do and the low requirements we need. So it's really telling that kind of story and educating.
And how have you been finding the market and finding real estate and the type of real estate you're targeting? You're in a different rental sphere than you were at Sherwin-Williams and
Very,
you're
very much so. Yeah, very much so. And it's it's interesting because when you're on the other side, you think, "Oh, it must be so easy." It's like there's tons of spaces available, and when you have a, and again, we don't have an unlimited budget, but when rent is a little more flexible, you think, "Oh, it would be so easy." But I will say, in the markets that we're looking at, highly competitive. Outside of New York City, this year we'll be opening up in Washington D.C. and Chicago, and we have those leases executed, and they're under construction right now, which is great. But moving forward, looking at in markets like in Texas or Nashville or South
yeah,
Florida,
there's no space.
there's no space, right? And even if we would pay the rents that they're commanding, there's just no inventory, which is a big challenge. Another big challenge for us is because the med spa space is so big right now over the past 5 years. A lot of the great centers that we would love to be in, there's already either a local or regional operator that has a use restriction. So when you add in low inventory and use restrictions, it can make it very challenging.
Have you come across it? It feels like you guys are niche in the space. Have you come across anyone else who's trying to do this on a national scale, what you guys are doing?
There's definitely other like and again I say med spa, but there are other operators that are similar to us. For us though, we're very singular. We do like one thing or three things very well, very well. We're not trying to do facials. We're not doing filler. We're not doing body cool sculpting or any kind of body work. It's very simple. It's sunscreen, retinoids, and Botox. And for us, we have highly educated, highly paid nurse practitioners that they do this every day, all day, every day. So they know what to do to get the best outcome. So I always kind of say we're very, and again, this may not be the best analogy, but we're like Shake Shack, right? Shake Shack makes a really good burger and a really good milkshake, and that's what they do. Or
Right.
Chick-fil-A, right? Chick-fil-A makes a really good chicken sandwich. So for us at Peachy, we do really good wrinkle prevention, and that's it.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
I actually like those analogies. I like those
Yeah,
analogies.
I mean, it's and again, like, there are so many, dermatologists and plastic surgeons, and they really those businesses are structured to really kind of cross-sell you, right? They want you to come in and say, "I need Botox," and then they're gonna say, "Well, don't you wanna lose some weight, or don't you wanna, inflate your lips, or don't you wanna do something else?" And, the customer, it's a different kind of experience versus you go to Peachy, it's like, this is what you want. We have a conversation with you. Great. We can help you out. And that's it. We're preventing wrinkles for you. We're treating your wrinkles. We're not trying to cross sell you on all these different, potentially not effective treatments.
Got it. Okay. Well, it's been super insightful. I want to move on to one of the last pieces. You have a story about a deal that you did in Chicago that you started to tell me, which sounded interesting. Take us away, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how like tight inventory is, and we're extremely, extremely picky when it comes to co-tenants and positioning. And I'm really happy to say we found actually a second story space. It's in the Gold Coast neighborhood of Chicago, which I think is probably one of the best kind of high street areas in Chicago. And it's a second story space right across from Tesla, brand new Glossier just opened last week, and we were very much on the fence about, do we want to do a second floor space? We've never done a second floor space before. We're so used to New York City street level for everything. um but the landlord was extremely helpful, and we had a lot of meetings and discussions about design and build out, and um we're gonna move forward with it. It's super visible. It's a hard corner, has you know 2/3 windows, which is great.
So that is good that it's 2/3 windows and it's a hard corner. That is good. S I actually think, even though you had no locations, I think you guys were probably a leg up on some other retailers as it relates to second story space because you're in New York and that's not atypical. It's something that happens. Whereas in like the suburban shopping center space, it's much more rare than like in New York. So I think it would be helpful. It was a concern. You had never done it before. What are the concerns about being on a second story? Like when you guys are talking about like, hey, it's second story. For those who might not know, why isn't that great? Or and how did you guys get to a point where this could work?
Exactly. I think the big thing is will the customers come, right? I know our kind of take internally here is in New York City, people don't want to walk upstairs. They don't want to take an extra elevator if they don't have to. Versus in Chicago, hey, maybe this is a little more, okay, and they're a little more willing to do it. Another example is Boston. If you go to Newbury Street, every single retail space on Newbury Street either has steps up or steps down. So it's just a matter of kind of determining, hey, will the customer, appreciate this? And I think our trade off for the space in Chicago was because of this visibility, because of this positioning, and because of this substantially lower rent, that's the play for us.
Yeah, I think those are good points. Like the access might not be what you wanted because it's second floor, but when you start talking about corner windows both sides, that's really hard to get on the street level.
Yeah, I mean, I could rattle off. I mean, another great retailer and like literally right by us is Aritzia. Aritzia is kind of all day, every day. Our core customers go to retail store, so there's just a ton of great things in that neighborhood. So to be there in a super visible second floor space, I mean, we spend a lot of money on our marketing and our build outs, so you know it's gonna get a lot of eyeballs.
I'm curious. So you go to Chicago and you were looking for space. You met with your broker, I assume you had a broker?
Course, of course. I mean, another thing I didn't mention, like broker relationship is huge. Is really I don't know if other guests have said that, but for us, I mean, the local knowledge is huge for us.
Got it. So you had a broker, you're touring sites, and I imagine, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, you're looking at stuff and you're not finding stuff. You're looking in the Gold Coast, which is really great area. You mentioned all the fabulous co-tenants that are in the area that you are. You're looking around and there's no first floor space available. And so how did the second floor get pitched to you? And let's start there because I have a follow-up to that, but go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, I kind of chalk it up to a really good broker network that we have. And, our broker, who's with JLL, Shannon Pope, she said, hey, guys, I know that you said on our initial kind of call and discussion that, first floor is what you need and that's it. And she said, I really need to drive by and I really need to show you guys this. And, we got the tour book sent to us beforehand before we made the trip out there. And I was like, "Ugh, I don't know. Like, my boss is who's the co-founder and co-CEO. I know he's gonna hate this. It's not gonna work well. It's gonna be hard uphill battle. But I said, you know what, let's drive by. It's the windows look great. Let's drive by and see it. So physically getting there really kind of sold it to us.
Got it. So that's interesting. So if it was done virtually, you probably wouldn't have made a deal there. If it was
No,
showed to you on Teams,
no. I will say, as much as I love Zoom and technology and really, optimizing that for cost and everything, there's times where, you know, on the computer, on Zoom, it looks absolutely horrible, and I go in person, and in this case, it was great. It made all the sense to us. I've also had it the other way where, you know, a space is pitched to us and it looks great and it looks like everything is brand new and all great co-tenants. But then when I get there, the position of the space is way off, no visibility in a corner, and it just doesn't work. So unfortunately, we still have to travel to actually physically see everything.
so okay, so you go there, you're like, wow, this space could work. Is it a who's underneath you?
Actually, underneath us is Peter Millar
Oh wow.
and, and PNC Bank, but Peter Millar is right underneath us.
Wow.
and they've been there for several, I think over a decade, so they're pretty well established,
Yeah,
so,
great retailer.
yeah.
And so you end up so everyone knows, so maybe you get some, walk-bys. What's the cross street there?
Cross Street, I don't know, but I know the address is 875 North Rush.
North Rush. Okay, so it's
North
on
Rush.
Rush.
And also another kind of kicker, I think that sold the deal when we went inside the space itself, up the floor and up the elevator, was right across from our retail unit was a very high-end
Oh,
bridal
wow.
yeah, local, regional kind of, couture bridal gown, maker, but the idea that, hey, a future bride plus her whole entire wedding party is going here right across the hallway is, you know, a
That's
great
great.
option to, prevent wrinkles. So
That's really good.
that really
I would
kind of sold the deal for us.
Yeah, that's a good co-tenant. And then how dramatic were the economics differences between 1st and 2nd floor?
Dramatic. Dramatic. I would say I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but probably definitely more than 25% difference.
Wow.
Yeah, 25, maybe even 30%
Okay.
difference. So
So, the moral of the story, never say never, everybody.
never say never. Yep.
Okay. So, when do you plan to open? You said it's under construction. When do you hope to open?
It'll be a Q4 open for us. So I have the idea of the month, but just to be safe, I would say Q4 this year.
And leads me to another question. Is there a better opening period for this type of retailer versus others? Like, you've been at retailers like Spirit
Yeah.
where the opening period is like the
Oh,
most important thing in the world.
yeah, there's no changing the opening date for Spirit Halloween. It's very, very
Yeah.
strict. Um, no, I mean, for us, the great thing is that, Botox, because of we're such a visual and, we're on video calls all the time. I mean, you would think that near the holidays is good just because of, functions and holiday parties and things like that. But honestly, we see great, sales months all throughout the year. Um,
Got
so there's no kind of preferred, I would say, but a big thing for us is just making sure we space our opens, so that we don't have, two or three studios opening in the same month.
got it. Well, listen, Zach, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate the time. Thank you for telling the story about Peachy on Rush in Chicago. I can't wait to go see it when it opens. I want to take us to the last part of the show. I got 3 questions for you. They're fun questions. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Question 1. What is the last item over $20 that you bought in a store?
So the last item over $20 I bought in a store, probably a pair of Allbirds.
Ah,
Yeah, I just recently got back. I was away. I went to Japan for 2 weeks, and, before I left, I wanted to get a good pair of, like, walking shoes and very durable, so I went to the Allbirds store here, in Flatiron and grabbed a pair.
cool retailer. Cool retailer. Great
Yeah,
shoes.
they do a great job. They're also, like, very, like, eco-conscious, which I like, so good stuff.
So, um, second question. What extinct retailer do you wish would come back from the dead?
So, it's kinda timely. I feel like everyone would probably say Bed Bath& and Beyond. Um, I'm gonna throw it back, and I probably would say, KB Toys.
Oh, what a good toy store. Yeah,
KB Toys, I just have a very vivid memories as a kid, like, going to the mall, and just being very much enticed by their massive amounts of merchandising. Tons of merchandise everywhere. So, that's one I thought, would be great if it could stick around, but, you
got it.
know.
Last question. Zach, if you and I are shopping at Target and I lost you, what aisle would I find you in?
So, I don't go to Target much. I'm more of a Whole Foods person,
Uh,
living in New York, but, Target, I would probably be in the skincare aisle. Probably like the beauty, seeing kind of what's on the market.
got it. That makes sense now.
Yeah, not makeup, but like skincare, the skincare aisle.
Sure. I get it. Well, listen, Zach, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks so
Keep
much.
rocking.
Thank you.
And just hold on 1 second. Appreciate you watching. Hit subscribe. See you in the next one.